Joining us once again on paranormalxl podcast. I am Gigi, and you are
Mama Mary.
Oh, you said it right this time. She's like, I gotta say it right. We have some amazing investigations coming up. One I'm super excited about is the one at the Willis House Inn in Willis, Michigan. We were invited by our amazing friends from Scar Encounters. I thought that was really awesome for them to include us.
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
They are super nice people. You got to meet them at the para party.
I did. I really liked them.
They are so kind and just...
Yeah, they're very open and very nice.
Yes.
And it was very easy to get along with.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And they involve so many different other teams. And Amanda's always giving shout outs and stuff to these other teams that they come encounter with. So they're great, and it's going to be a wonderful time. And it's going to help us as a crew too, seeing and being able to work with people that are so dedicated. So speaking of spooky houses and locations, we didn't have a miscommunication. I had missed thoughts. So on today's episode, we are going to do haunted houses and haunted cemeteries.
There you go.
Because Mama Mary knew what was going on. She's going to cover the cemeteries, and I'm going to cover the houses. Yay!
It's like double the pleasure and double the fun.
Yeah, always.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what we do.
Yeah,
right?
kind of, yeah.
So let's talk paranormal. Yay! I'm all looking at you. You want to go with the haunted cemetery first?
Sure. Actually, I'm going to talk about, I'm going to scroll down here a little bit and talk about one of my favorite ones. It's Pure Cemetery, or Pure Cheney Cemetery. And I've been wanting to go to the cemetery for a really long time. So I'm going to have to make it a point to actually have us go visit it. It's up in Roscommon County, and it's basically what remains of it's ghost town. It kind of died out, I think, in the 1920s from just kind of lots of different kind of disease. But they even say that there is a witch. I'll go into the story further, but the basic story is, lots of disease came through. They blamed it on a witch cursing them. And so they hung her and they buried her. So there's 90 people that are buried in the cemetery. So it's a very small cemetery, and it's hard to get to. You literally have to take a 2-track to get there.
Okay.
It can be difficult to find from what I hear. But there's tons of activity at this cemetery, and it just kind of fascinates me to be able to go there. They've seen, people see the lights all over and, lights in the woods that are surrounding it. And when they come back to their cars, there's unexplained handprints that are on their cars. And it's basically, it's filled with ghost stories, and everybody has their, own take on it. And, there was a witch, and she was banned from the woods, and they blamed that there was a huge outbreak of disease and fires on her. And, which kind of, when I think about that story, it kind of strikes me funny, only because they say she's buried there too. So, and amazingly that they would still bury her, if, that was the case. They would still bury her in their cemetery.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because they were saying that she was a witch. Now, why would you want a witch buried in your cemetery? It seems that they would have done something else with her body. That is odd. Do you think that's a stop at, not too far out of our way, on our way up next weekend?
It could be, because I think it's not in Grayling. It might be in Grayling. That's you have to drive through there on 75. Yeah. But yeah, the only thing that actually grows there is moss.
Interesting.
But they've had reports of seeing ghosts and figures, glowing orbs, hearing voices.
That would be sweet to stop there and get a. Okay, It is in Grayling. Which I believe
You do. You drive by it.
Through it.
Yep.
Yeah, Grayling.
And then another one that I found fascinating, probably because it has my name in it. And it's
Oh yeah.
It's
I know this one.
Yeah, the grave of Little Mary. It's in Jackson at the Hillcrest Memorial Park. And it's kind of an interesting idea. Basically, the whole story is she was alive in the 1800s. The family was a big name, in Jackson at the time. And I think right before she turned 8, or like a day after she turned 8, she was really sick, and I forget how to pronounce the ailment, but basically her appendix ruptured, and so she died of that infection.
Appendicitis.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And then so they buried her, and then the saying goes that the mom was panicking and wanted them to unbury her and bring her back up, and so they did, just to calm her down. And when they did, they saw scratch marks on the inside of the coffin. So the rumor is that, whether it's an urban legend or not, is basically she was buried alive.
Ugh, I know that's a lot of people's fears. Well, be anybody's really, like, not being able to get out.
So the saying goes like, the experiences that people have there, hearing scratching, or the screams, or the crying, or feeling the touching. There's even accounts. I was reading a story of somebody who went there to do an investigation, and they could hear scratching at their feet at the gravestones.
Wow,
I thought that was
too far.
I thought that was
I love cemeteries.
Pretty interesting. And then they have one at Redford Cemetery, and this is by Metro Detroit, and it's reported with tons of paranormal events, with the sound of a woman crying at night, and other people say that the ground has started to shake while they're there, and that they see like a dark figure that comes out and follows them around.
No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks.
I find that fascinating.
Well, good. I'm glad you do. You want me to hit some houses?
I wonder if there's any houses that would be close to these places.
Some of them do. Actually, the one that we are going to with Scar Encounters has one. Actually, I think slightly down the street.
Oh.
I forget that's a double thing. That would be interesting to get a house that's on location of a cemetery because of it, like groundskeepers living there or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If that's haunted too. The one that caught my eye, and I actually tried to find more information on it. So if any of our listeners know information of this one, I really, really, really want to hear this one. It's in Milan, Ohio, and the Milan Witch. And I can't find much in the history of the location besides that the story says the witch originally owned the house, and when she was killed, they buried her under the front porch. Which, of course, I want to go visit. It is a creepy looking house. Like I said, I would love to know more. There wasn't much history on the house at all, but it is not. It's vacant, but very dangerous to go up there or whatever. But I don't know. Well, of course, a witch. I want to go see it, but it looked very awesome. Another one is Woodburn Mansion. That's in Delaware. So the governors of Delaware got more than what they bargained for when they moved their official residence in Dover. Woodburn Mansion, built in 1798, has housed the state's governors since 1965. It's also allegedly the home to some most friendly ghosts, including the spirit of the builder, who wafts any wine that might be left out each night. Huh. Well, first of all, you don't leave wine out. I'm just saying. I don't ever have any left.
That's kind of hateful.
Visitors in the residence have reported seeing the man, Charles Hilliard III, wearing a 1700s-style powdered wig and breeches. Another ghostly resident is a small girl in gingham dress, supposedly sighted by guests during the inauguration of Governor Mike Castle in 1985.
Oh. Those are some good encounters.
Heck yeah. Another one in Ohio. Was that Ohio? No, that was... Everything I've been doing research lately is like Ohio and Indiana. It's weird. But the Franklin Castle in Ohio. This imposing Cleveland home has a reputation for horror. Not hero, horror. Also known as the Trideman House. This home at 4308 Franklin Avenue was built in 1881. The haunted house rumors started around 1965. According to the Encyclopedia of Cleveland History, which dismisses the tales as spurious perhaps, but spooky nonetheless. According to the legend, the house is full of hidden passages and rooms used to conceal liquor during Prohibition. Several of the Heidemann family children died while the family occupied the home. Perhaps the creepiest tale is that is that an occupant once found piles of baby bones in one of the secret rooms.
Oh.
See, I'd love to come across like a home that we decide to investigate and it has like all these hidden doors and passages and stuff. Like that'd be so cool.
There is this one house.
Yeah.
Oh, when your dad and I were looking for houses. Creepiest house ever. There was definitely something very evil there. And it was an older house. I think not old. It was like built in the 1970s. And it literally had 5 rooms. Okay. But my take on it was there was this man with dementia who was doing the remodeling and people were helping him because it was weird. There was like literally passageways. And it was just a weird feel to the house in general. But like when you walked upstairs, the bathroom was literally bathroom stalls.
Real, and this was a normal house.
It was a normal house. And then, then you could tell where they kept on building additions and adding things. And it was cute. There was like a lot of potential to this house.
Interesting.
And, but when you walked, I felt a really bad energy when we walked downstairs. Like it hit me and pushed me back. It was strong. But like there was a hole broken out of the wall and you went through it and it was like, you walked onto the other side of the basement. It was like it had 2 basements. But it was so weird. And it was literally like secret passageways. They did additions and what used to be the kitchen was now some kind of weird storage space. And then it was cool if you had a lot of stuff. Like if you were into scrapbooking and they had drawers in the wall, like little drawers all the way lined up the wall.
Oh, wow.
But if you like walked into the back bedroom and you opened up the closet, it had stairs going nowhere. And then above the garage, you could tell they were building a whole new addition, above this garage. And it was just so weird because you could literally look over to the left and see the roof of the other house. And there was like a hallway going down to the roof of the house. It was weird. That's all I gotta say.
So like no rhyme or reason for having
no rhyme or reason whatsoever. It was like like that movie Rose Red and that weird house that was constantly changing. That's what it felt like. There was bad energy, but it felt like there was like energy there that was trapped because it didn't know where to go. It was weird. It was weird.
That is weird. Stop telling stories. You weird me out. I'm just kidding. Tell us all the stories you have. I'll do one more and then we can get... I like hearing you tell me about cemeteries. Pioneer Park. It's in Colorado. It's the most famous spooky spot in the Stanley Hotel in Estates Park, which inspired the Stephen King novel The Shining.
Oh, nice.
But the snowy ski town of Aspen has its share of things that go bump in the night. Pioneer Park, or the Henry Weber House, is one of the few old structures left in Aspen. It was built in the 1880s and is supposedly haunted by the wife of the builder, Henry Weber. According to Aspen Times, Harriet Weber died suddenly in 1881, only a year after the couple arrived in the then mining town and set up a shoe business. Harriet's last words were allegedly, "Henry will know," spurring rumors that her death was a murder or a suicide. In fact, she died of I can't pronounce that. Strychnine overdose? Strychnine? Yeah, strychnine overdose, which doesn't rule out the possibility of an accident. The poison was sold as an over-the-counter anxiety cure at the time. Henry Weber went to marry his wife's niece, with whom he may have been having an affair a mere 4 months later.
Oh.
Ouch, bastard.
That's kind of rude.
God, man, I'm just kidding. I can't be hating. But that was...
Well, what do you think is like the most haunted city in the United States?
In the United States. City?
Mm-hmm.
City? I would say... I don't know, just because there's a million cities, but I would almost say New York or somewhere over that way, just because there's more history there.
There is a lot of history there. Well, they say that New Orleans is like considered like the most haunted place, which makes sense because there's still a lot of history down there because all that Creole history and the voodoo and that if I had to go to a second place other than Salem, that's where I would go next. And, discover that hoodoo.
Good, I'm going to go there without you.
No,
and
you
then
can.
I'm just kidding.
I tried to get your dad to go. I said he could look at as many boobs as he wanted. He just looked at me like I was weird.
Well, Ethan's grandma on his dad's side lives down there. And she said, well, it's like a half hour away from New Orleans, but she said if I ever wanted to bring Ethan down there, we'd have a place to stay, and she would take us and show us New Orleans and
That's
everything.
awesome. You should do it.
That is sweet. I would like him to meet her sometime, but...
Well, so it makes sense where they, it is the most haunted city, so they have tons of cemeteries that are considered haunted. What's really fascinating about their cemeteries is it's below sea level, so they can't bury their bodies. So they make vaults on top, and they have such old and beautiful cemeteries. I mean, just looking at the pictures of the cemeteries, it's like artwork in itself.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird, but they're beautiful. And one of their they do have tours they do. It's called like the Ungrateful Dead tour.
Nice.
Which I think is funny. One of the most haunted ones is called the St. Louis Cemetery. And this is like perhaps like the most famous, historic and most haunted cemetery of all New Orleans. And it has stories that have literally been told over and over again for over 200 years.
Oh, wow.
And perhaps has the most famous ghost of New Orleans, Marie Laveau. And she's like the main spirit that actually haunts this cemetery. And I think it's fascinating, especially when you look at the pictures. And they're beautiful. They have one that St. Roch Cemetery is, and they named this cemetery after a saint that is like the patron of dogs. So they say that you often see dogs roam this cemetery.
Interesting.
Isn't that funny? And yeah, like that's when I looked, I thought it was funny. That is like their main paranormal experience is dogs.
Interesting.
So I don't know if maybe that's just like a dog haven for dog spirit or what.
I did have a conversation, you speak about dog spirit and stuff, with someone that he does not believe that dogs, like he believes they have like they can feel and everything, but he doesn't believe that they have spirit. And I got what I said, well, what about those people that, when their animal, maybe not just a dog, but an animal in general, passes, whether it be like a cat or a dog. I say that because some of the stories that I've heard from people or have read was them feeling their animal jump up on the bed, at nighttime, and they can feel them curled up because that's what they did every night.
Well, yeah, definitely. There's so much truth to that. I feel like, just like I've had mediums tell me that I have a black cat that's with me all the time. And I would think that would be my cat, Satch. And when I was a little girl, he was all black, but he was also like a very protective cat.
Okay.
So I think that's the cat that they see. I do believe that animals have souls. If animals didn't have souls, they wouldn't connect with you the way they do.
Right, that's kind of what I said,
get
too.
That soul connection.
At least that's my belief.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong, whatever. He's entitled to his belief.
That's
cool,
true.
Right on. I respect that. But, animals are living just like we are. And I don't know. It's kind of caught me off guard a little bit as to think, okay, you believe that humans have their spirits kind of linger, what have you, however you believe in that. But animals don't, but really the only thing, I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that.
I believe that they do.
I would think so too, but then when you go into reincarnation, because that was another thing I said, well, if you're someone that believes in reincarnation, how would somebody get reincarnated into an animal?
Maybe they're abusive to animals.
Right. But we'd have to have that exchange level to be able to do that. You're not necessarily going to get exchanged.
Have you ever seen that movie? I forget exactly. I'll have to look up the title. In a Dog's Life. And basically, it's just a movie that came out probably last year, I do believe. And I've been wanting to watch it. And it's literally about a movie about a dog who continuously reincarnates. And it shows each of his lives that he reincarnated with and how he served his owners.
Okay.
It's fast. I want to watch it. But I also know that I'll cry.
Oh, well, yeah.
When I watch it. Because that's inevitable.
Yeah, when it involves an animal, for sure, they always get me.
Yes. Well, the military cemetery is extremely a grand cemetery. There's a picture of it. It kind of just shows.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like, I don't know. It has an eerie, ancient look to it. I like that feel. I think that's what I like about cemeteries. But this one, for like over just 100 years, have reports of a lot of different kind of activity where they actually see full-on apparitions and spirits walking around, and you can literally spend hours in this cemetery. It's so large that you could get lost in it.
Right.
But a lot of different types of paranormal activity have been reported.
And that was you say a military?
No, it's called Matari Cemetery.
Oh, okay. Okay, it does look neat. The
It
pictures
does.
are really, really neat, intriguing.
Well, because it's covered in trees, and you see these vaults, and that's where the bodies are placed inside these vaults, and they make the vaults ancient and beautiful.
Yeah,
it's mystical.
They tell a story all of their own.
They do, and so I would say that each family who has good money, they probably have some kind of symbolism on their vaults to distinguish them and tell a story.
Right. Yeah.
It's beautiful, and this is the Lafayette Cemetery, and I think what I find fascinating the most about the New Orleans cemeteries is they're all like woodsy in between them too.
Yes,
and I think that maybe adds to nostalgia or the appeal to the look and the feel of the cemeteries.
Okay, so technical difficulties.
Yeah,
we're gonna. I've been sitting here waiting because I'm super excited to talk about this. I'm not going to hit on this house very, very much right now because we are actually going to make an episode on this house. We're going to throw some true crime into our paranormal. We're going to see how that does for us too. And I know a lot of our listeners enjoy true crime too. I enjoy true crime, and it will be a lot of fun to do the investigating and whatnot with this, but this one seems to be a hot topic lately in the paranormal community, which isn't too far, I say, off for us to go visit. My daughter's got family down here, and she was actually been asking me to go to this for a long time, this location, because you can stay here. And I'm like, what are you talking, like, what? And then since getting into the paranormal more in depth, I'm like, holy crap, this is really a thing. So I am super excited about this, and it is the Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa. Now, do you see the date on this?
Yeah.
It's I actually, until I didn't put two and two together until I looked it up, but after talking about the Salem witch trials, it's actually happened on the same date, clearly not the same year, but same date as the first executions in Salem, June 10th. So on June 10th, 1912, Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children and 2 visiting guests were bludgeoned to death inside this quiet Iowa home. The crime remains unsolved, and much of the home is still intact from that fateful night, with no running water or electricity, which provides that special ambience for the many who have shelled out $400+ to stay a night. But visit the Villisca Axe Murder House at own risk. In 2014, a paranormal investigator who booked a room wound up stabbing himself by the morning.
Oh, wow.
And see, I remember that story, but I did not realize that it was tied into the Villisca house. So that would be, yes, there's lots of stories and lots of encounters that people have had. I'm all excited. You see me? I'm like this. About this home. The address for this home is 508 East 2nd Street in Villisca, Iowa. You can stay there. It's $475, 1 to 6 people. They say to keep it lower because, it is a small house. You're going to, you can have more than that, but then clearly the price goes up, whatever. So, I don't know. I really want to go there. Like I said, you can stay there. They say to bring like your sleeping bags and stuff because there are beds. It's still set up in that house, but you cannot sleep in the beds and all that jazz. So you'd bring your sleeping bags and such. I said there so many stories that go with the Villisca house. I'm gonna shut up about it now because we will get like into what happened, what we'll get into the history of the family and everything in a future episode. So keep listening to that because I'm super excited to learn all I can and hopefully get a chance.
It'll
to
be an
go out
awesome
there.
episode.
Yeah. The next one is the Sally House in Atchison, Kansas. Legend has it that the cause of all the mayhem at one of the most disturbing haunted houses in America stems from a little girl who was the victim of a botched... that goes with what you said, but yours was a cemetery. This is a house. But she had a botched appendicitis.
I remember this. I remember this story.
It was
I remember seeing it on sightings too.
Okay. Well, the appendicitis during a house call at the turn of the century, a family who lived in the Sally house in the 90s documented their experience on the TV show Sightings. What? Excuse me. Which talked of flying objects, frequent apparitions, and scratching, gouging at, and shoving, mainly directed at the male owner. The home is now vacant, but is popular pick for paranormal researchers who have been asking if additional malvoyant spirits have since moved in. That is crazy.
I always kind of felt like there was a little girl spirit there, but there's also an evil spirit there too that was using her energy.
Yes.
And then controlling her and using her energy to do bad things.
Interesting.
Is this one? Oh, this is just New Orleans.
Yeah, this is the Lurie House, New Orleans.
Oh.
Actually from American Horror Story. Coven has what?
Reignited?
Thank you. Lurie House, New Orleans. American Horror Story. Coven has reignited interest in this famous French Quarter haunt. In this series, Kathy Bates plays real-life socialite and serial killer Madame Delphine Lurie, who orchestrated a torture chamber for slaves at the Royal Street Mansion from 1831 until 1834, when responders to a fire uncovered her dark secret. Lurie's victims are said to haunt the property to this day. Passersby say they can hear shouts, moans, and weeping, and some say they have seen ghostly faces from the upstairs window. Yet the house's ghastly history hasn't stopped wealthy buyers. Before losing the home to foreclosure in 2009, actor Nicolas Cage owned the house, and today a wealthy oil tycoon is said to hold the deed.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Nicolas Cage lost the house in foreclosure?
That's what we take out of that whole story?
I know.
I'm just teasing.
Sorry. I'm like, well, I like him.
That is pretty good.
I got the Bell Witch Farms in Adams, Tennessee, which that's a famous one. It's the age-old tale of neighbors at war. A woman named Kate Batts believed her neighbor John Bell cheated her out of some land. And so, lying on her deathbed in the early 19th century, she swore she would haunt him forever. The Bell family said they experienced physical attacks, heard chains dragged across floors, noises in the walls, and saw odd-looking animals on their farm, including a dog with a rabbit's head.
Oh.
Today you can hear the tour, the property's cave, and reconstructed cabin, and stop by for an annual Bell Witch Festival. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
You got a cemetery?
Yeah. Well, this one, I like the picture that goes with it too. And in this picture, it's all darkness, but you can literally see where orbs are completely flying, and not just small ones, but huge ones, like all over. It's the William Gnog Cemetery in Westland, and this one's in Michigan, and it's also known as the Butler Cemetery. And throughout the years, visitors report seeing the eerie mist, glowing eyes, and unexplained orbs among the graves. That's kind of creepy when you think about being in a cemetery and you see glowing eyes and you hear things growling. That's creepy.
It was the Westland?
Yep. It's in Westland, and it's called the Butler Cemetery. And then there's another one in Udell Cemetery in Ypsilanti. It's situated on like a textile type road near Ypsilanti. Union Udell Cemetery is thought to be one of the most haunted graveyards in Michigan. It is the final resting place of the witch named Elizabeth, which makes it a must-visit spot for any paranormal investigator.
Why's everybody gotta be witches?
I know. Many have reported spotting shadowy beings and hearing growls from inside the cemetery at night. Creepy. and there's like a cemetery in Ada where they actually have pictures of like a blue mist that floats around. And then it's like a misty blue figure, and it just kind of lingers over and around the cemetery. And again, this is the home of the so-called Ada Witch, a legendary Michigan ghost who is said to tap unsuspecting visitors on the shoulder when they pass through the graveyard.
Ooh, must go.
I know. And these are all close by. I mean, they're not, I wouldn't say they're like so far out of the way you wouldn't be able to, go. I think one of the, top favorites is called the Nunica Cemetery in Crockery Township. This is like a great place to go for ghost hunters. It's I think it's on M104 in Crockery Township, and it's the resting place for a lot of Civil War veterans, and people have seen like soldiers throughout the years experiencing sudden coldness in their bodies, hearing voices, and seeing apparitions of a woman that's dressed in white.
Always with the dress in white.
I know.
This one, I just seen. Actually, a lot of people go to this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the most popular one
on the YouTube channels, paranormal channels, and whatnot. And people doing stuff. Yes, I definitely want to. I want to go on a Michigan cemetery tour.
That would be fun.
We could make that a thing.
Why do you think ghosts haunt cemeteries?
Call on me.
I call on you.
Okay. I actually was thinking about this the other day because I think random things all the time. And I was reading on some of the Facebook pages, somebody was like, why does everybody go to a cemetery or a graveyard thinking that they're going to get things? People aren't going to haunt cemeteries. And my first thought was, if I became a spirit, I will at some time, but, my thoughts on this, why cemeteries would be haunted. And I was thinking, I believe that for a lot of people, that's the last place that they see their whole family together. So let's say you got killed tragically in a car accident, and most people don't cross over because they are scared or they don't know that they have died. Mm-hmm. So they're like, holy cow. So they're probably following around their family and whatnot. Their body's getting laid to rest, and they're like hanging out there trying to figure out what the hell happened. To me, like I said, that's the last place that they're going to see their loved ones all gathered together. Why is everybody here? Why is everybody at a funeral? And then they're like, holy hell. I don't know, but that's a lot of energy all at one place too, and a lot of sad energy. Now, to me, that would hold somebody there. Yeah,
that sadness, because I've heard people say that when they enter certain cemeteries, you feel an energy of sadness. I feel too that they're natural portals. Maybe not all of them, but maybe some of the older ones where they have the older trees. I think trees are natural portals, and I think they're able to come through that way.
Okay.
Whether they belong with that cemetery or not. Because you would think that if you were a spirit and you wanted to, haunt something, that you would connect with your family.
Right.
But I know my daughter Skylar's talked about experiences that she's had just a couple of weeks ago. She was with my mom in that family cemetery, working on the flowers, and she had accidentally stepped on a grave that was fresh. It was so fresh you couldn't tell that it was a grave.
Okay. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the chimes that were right next to her started blowing. And she looked down and she stepped off. She goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Then all of a sudden the wind chime stopped. So she's like, that creeped me out.
I bet it did. It would me too, that's for sure.
And my mom's had experiences too where she's fixed flowers on graves of people she didn't know, and has turned around and heard, thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think for all many purposes, and maybe it's just a place to be, I guess. I think spirits everywhere in general.
Right.
And some people are just more open to that energy that spirits would connect with.
So I kind of wondered, do they ever need rest?
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Mm-mm.
I always wondered that. Like, they just go around haunting all the time because, you don't always have that where people are consistently having things happen.
Yeah.
You know, but where do they go at their downtime?
I don't know.
I
think they go to the astral plane.
And kind of
It's like, you know, the astral plane's
recharge.
the same place, but just a different dimension, a higher vibration.
Right. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Silly questions I have. That's what I think about sometimes. I'm like,
it's good to think about that kind of stuff.
Good. So I'm not silly.
Mm-mm.
Okay, good. A house I have is House of Death in New York, New York. The city that never sleeps is probably just too afraid of the House of Death to close its eyes. Ha ha ha. The famous brownstone off of Fifth Avenue that is reportedly terrorized by a whopping total of 22 guests. The most famous is writer Mark Twain, who lived here from 1900 to 1901. The most heartbreaking is the 6-year-old girl beaten to death by her father, criminal prosecutor Joel Steinberg, in 1987.
Aww.
Wow. In addition to sightings of Twain and the young girl, residents say they have seen visions of a lady in white and a gray cat.
That's fascinating.
That is fascinating. You ever... That's something I could look into. With these stories that people say that they see these things. Like, there's the story behind... There's a story why Mark Twain's there. There's a story why that little girl could be stuck there. But then a lot of these stories throw in a lady in white. I wonder if she has something to do, like, if she's actually, like, maybe their guide or showing them around in these places.
I think that's just, in general, to bring that up, it'll sound weird, but like this morning, I was working out, and
she just wanted everybody to know she was working out.
No, I turned around and there was a little girl in white. Freaked me out. Normally, I don't start like that. I don't jump, but I think because I was into doing that, I wasn't focusing on anything. So when I turned around, it was there, and it jolted me, and so maybe, but what I kind of got with it was more angelic. Okay, that it was angelic energy where they were just there. Of course, I said, "You can't do that. I'm gonna break an ankle. I'm gonna break my face because I'm already can't do the workout. I'm gonna fall over."
Yeah, and you just want to show up here unannounced.
Can't do it,
and you didn't even knock.
So I wonder if it's something like that where, you know, the lady in white is kind of just like a guardian angel type thing. That's why she's seen so often.
Right. She follows kind of these tragic stories. Because if you look into the real backstory of why somebody went to some place and then they're like, wait, I didn't see the young girl, but I saw a lady in white. You know, but there's no backstory to this lady in white, where there is a backstory to the young girl. There's a backstory to Mark Twain at this location. But a lot of these stories that you hear, you know, whether somebody got murdered at this location or they just randomly passed away, that, you know,
bringing light energy to the
situation.
Yeah.
Huh. That's an interesting, I like that. And of course, the Lizzie Borden house. Everybody knows this one.
I almost forced your dad to go see that while we were in Salem, because it was literally over like an hour and a half away. I almost did. I'm like, nah, we'll save it. I used to be fascinated with the story.
Okay.
When I was growing up. Like,
nice.
Kind of.
Yeah, we watched the Netflix thing that they had on this. Lizzie Borden is still laughing about getting away with murder, according to some. Late at night, she can be heard crackling at the top of the stairs near where she gave her stepmother 40 whacks. I will not do that to you. I hope. But she's not the only spirit who haunts the scene of the 1892 crime. Both of her ex-parents are said to stalk the grounds, and does a maid screaming for help, according to the guest of the now museum and the B&B. Lizzie Borden House attracts guests from all over the world, especially for the anniversary reenactment every August.
Oh,
they reenact it?
That's kind of creepy.
Now, I thought I was, like, morbid for wanting to go to certain places or being infatuated, but to actually reenact a murder, a gruesome murder?
Yeah. Oh, you know, there's so much story behind, you know, the Lizzie Borden murders. You know, the dad supposedly wasn't right and was doing things to her. The stepmother was mean to her. But they literally caught her. Yeah. They caught her burning her clothing. Yeah. But they acquitted her because she was an aristocrat. And it was unthinkable that an aristocrat would be capable of such a crime. That's what, the poorer classes did. So, even though they knew she did it, they had the evidence, they let her go.
Because of who she was.
Yep.
Her name. Not much has changed.
I'm
just
somewhat, yeah.
Another one, the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. Now, everybody knows this one, too. Of course, I hear Winchester. Besides, yep, Winchester makes a sweet gun. I think of Sam and Dean Winchester from Supernatural. I'm like, yay! So, her husband developed the gun that won the West. Ta-da! Which came back to bite Sarah Winchester in the butt. Well, I married a Winchester.
Aww.
Oh, yay. After losing her husband and her young daughter, the widow Winchester consulted a spiritualist who alleged the family was being haunted by American Indians, Civil War soldiers, and others killed by the famous rifle. It was recommended that the Winchesters move west and use her $20 million inheritance to continuously build a home to appease the spirits. What was erected between 1884 and 1922, now known as the Winchester Mystery House, was a sprawling 160-room mansion with haphazard architecture that leads... was a sprawling 160-room mansion that haphazard architecture that leads touring guests to nowhere, though there is spirit guides. Interesting. I want to go.
That would be cool.
I want to go. Oh, here's one in Salem.
I know, this is the one, we didn't go see this one.
Because you're saving it.
It is.
Joshua Ward House, Salem, Massachusetts. I said I've been working on that. This brick mansion built for a prominent merchant in 1784 is the exact site where Sheriff George Corwin, a major figure in the Salem witch trials, lived, died, and buried in 1697, though later exhumed. Corwin was known as the Strangler for the 19 men and women executed for witchcraft under his watch. He is said to still creep around the grounds, with some visitors claiming they have been choked by him, and he's apparently not alone. One of his victims was famously captured in all her dishelvished glory by a realtor taking photos of the property. Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, they say that Giles Corey, too, haunts that property.
As he should.
He should.
I hope he scares the crap out of that other ghost.
Mm-hmm. I hope he haunts him.
We all know how we feel about Giles Corey.
That's right.
I got another one. Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri. Even all the beer in the world won't necessarily lead to happiness. What? I can't let Sean read that.
Those dirty little liars.
God.
All right, stop. We don't need this kind of negativity.
I gotta flip over this table. Just kidding. It's bolted to the wall. I can't.
Yeah, no, you can't.
Case in point, the Lemp family, purveyors of Lemp Brewing Company, a stalwart in St. Louis before Prohibition hit, 4 members of the family killed themselves between 1904 and 1949. 3 of them inside the 33-room Victorian mansion where they allegedly still reside, haunting guests of the converted restaurant and inn. It has been listed by Travel Channel as one of the most terrifying real haunted houses in America.
Oh, yeah, that sounds fun.
We'll hit there on our way down to
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Right on our way to New Orleans. There's one in Connecticut. Haunting in Connecticut House. How creative for the name.
That's a good movie.
Yes. I'm like, yes. In Southington, Connecticut. The drama the Snedeker family experienced in the 80s living in this haunted house and former funeral home was crazy enough to be turned into a popular horror flick in 2009. The pic is... bleh. That pic is of the movie house. The real house, a private residence, remains shrouded in mystery. During a 2-year span, both of the Snedeker parents claimed to have been physically assaulted and sodomized by demonic spirits, and said their son Philip was often visited by a creepy man with long black hair. A new family claims the home is spirit-free and normal, except for the routine drive-bys, which have often forced police to add backup patrols. See, that's another thing with the Amityville Horror House. I love those movies. But if you know your history on it, fake. They wanted to make money. You want to know how much money that they only made after it coming out? Mm-hmm. was $200,000.
Oh.
And they actually paid a priest to come in and say, yeah, he got attacked by those flies. He did this, he did that. They paid him to do that. Now, when the courts got involved, the priest was like, no, that didn't happen. They paid me to do it. So after paying all these other legal fees and stuff and being paid for the movies and whatnot, they only made off with $200,000, which I say only. That is a lot of money, but that's...
But still, yeah.
They wanted more. So now these poor people that do live in that house...
Get tortured.
Yes, because of people driving by and this and that and the other thing, and their house is always online because people, I got a picture there in horror house movie.
Mm-hmm.
The story, it's a great story.
It is
great
a good
movie.
story.
Some of my favorite movies. But it's fake. It's all fake. I was crushed.
I would be too.
I was crushed because I grew up watching all those movies and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, so cool. Now, as far things may have happened there, whatever, but what was said to happen did not happen.
The paranormal events.
Yep.
The murder happened there, right?
Yes,
the murders.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why those people got it super, super cheap. And then to add to that, because they wanted to make fortune off the murders and buying that house. Oh, who wouldn't buy a house super cheap? I don't know if I would if a murder happened there. I don't know if I'd live in it. Just because that is something horrific.
Yeah.
But, they lived there for X amount of time and then moved out shortly thinking that they're going to make money off from this, but they embellished the paranormal happenings happening. It is an axe murder house. But we still have yet to confirm that paranormal happenings happened there. Did I say axe? It's not an axe murder house, is it? It's just murders.
Yeah, it was just murders. He went with a shotgun.
Oh, yep. Axe. Axe murders, shotgun murders. Still be a murder. We got the Lease Murder Mansion in Los Angeles, California. Goths love that. Let me slow it down. It sounded funny when it came out. Goths love to picnic in the backyard here, and several major news publications have written about the hauntings experienced by trespassers to this mysterious murder house. In 1959, Dr. Harold Perlson beat his wife to death with a hammer in the mansion, severely wounded his daughter, and then drank a glass of acid to off himself. The Inez family bought the oh my God, dilapidated. The Inez family bought the a family bought this structure at auction years ago and used it only for storage purposes. In the spring of 2016, the house was finally cleared of the clutter, much of it dating back to the mid-20th century, and put up for auction. That hasn't stopped locals' interest in it. Farnsworth House in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The waiters at this inn won't be the only ones dressed up in the Civil War era clothes. Expect to see some long dead Confederate soldiers clad that says ass.
It does say ass.
You'll see some dressed up Confederate soldiers ghost as well. During the Battle of Gettysburg, many of the South soldiers hid and died, which explains the 100-plus bullet pocks in the brick walls. After the fighting in the area was over, the house became a hospital for soldiers. Whether at the inn or in the area, learn about some of the weird supernatural occurrences during a ghost tour. So go there, or if you're in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, head on over to a ghost tour. I would. I think they sound like fun. Although I like to wander.
Yeah, kind of just look yourself.
Yeah. Okay, the last one we have here, at least for haunted houses, is Molly Brown House in Denver, Colorado. The unsinkable Molly Brown was one of the only people to survive the Titanic. But she wasn't entirely unstoppable. She died in New York in 1932. It's said Brown, along with her husband and mother, still haunt the prized Victorian home acquired in 1893, where she spent much of her adult life and which is now a museum with artifacts from her life. Visitors say they have seen apparitions in the dining room.
That's cool.
And rearranged furniture and similar strange occurrences in the former room of Brown's child, Catherine, who died at a young age. Always forget about the Titanic.
Yeah.
That's weird. Talking away from the mic. That's always fun to go back through and listen to. Anything else you want to say to our listeners?
No, just thank you for listening.
Yeah, keep doing it.
Yeah, keep listening. Share it. Get other people to listen.
Yes. Tell your friends. Why keep something awesome to yourself?
Oh, yeah, that's kind of selfish, to be honest.
So we're going to... I always say that we got something awesome coming up, because we always do. But we have some sweet investigations coming up. We have throw in some paranormal true crime in there, just because I do find that interesting. So like I'm at home and he's doing his research. I end up like looking over his shoulder because I want to do some of that too, but it can tie into the paranormal stuff. We want to find out why some of these people are haunting still. What happened to them? Why they can't cross over? So that's where the true crime part comes in. Maybe we can go to some of these locations sometime and help them because we did our research behind it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give a shout out to some of the countries that are listening. Get a load of this. Canada, Sweden, the UK. Sweden is above UK right now.
Oh, no.
They came out of nowhere.
We can't let that happen.
That was pretty awesome. And Canada, you guys always have our backs. We love you. In the UK, Australia, Ireland, New Zealand, Finland, Netherlands, Spain, Belgium, Germany, South Africa, Japan, and France.
Cool.
And there's a bunch more, but I just didn't feel like writing them down. That's really, really mean of me to say, but we'll get you next time. We love all of you, and don't forget to tell your friends and family about the podcast. Don't forget to write in your stories, questions, comments, or even concerns. We want to hear everything.
Yeah.
So, at least we can back ourselves up if you have a question or fix something that we may have, done wrong.
Give us ideas.
Yeah, for sure. If you would like to support Paranormal XL podcast, check out our Patreon page. See what you can get from helping us out. That link will be in the notes section of the podcast. There's also links on the Facebook for that. I'm going to say, remember, don't yuck someone else's yum.
Ever.
Thank you, bye.
Bye.